There's a reason Blood of My Blood is being released before Outlander's final season, and that may be because Blood of My Blood provides answers to the faith mystery revealed at the end of Season 7, Part 2. If you're watching Blood of My Blood, you'll see that Claire's mother, Julia, is in the past and pregnant with her second child. Now, we don't know if that child will actually be born. We don't know if it will be a girl or a boy. We don't know if Julia and Henry will ever make it back to the future. But what we do have are some incredible theories and predictions about this mystery. One of them is the possibility that Julia's second child eventually gives birth to a boy or girl who later becomes the parent of Faith, Fanny, and Jane's mother. That would make Claire Fanny's great aunt. But there are other theories as well, so why don't we go through them all? Let's dive in. First of all, let's talk about why we're seeing Blood of My Blood before Outlander's final season. One could argue that the creators wanted to use the hype surrounding Season 8 to keep fans engaged during the long wait with a brand new show. But the fact that Julia is pregnant again suggests that the creators wanted to tie Blood of My Blood directly into Season 8. Still, we should keep in mind that, as far as I know, Outlander Season 8 was written long before Blood of My Blood. So any ties between the two probably aren't that big. I don't think we're going to see Claire spending entire episodes trying to unravel her lineage. Maybe we'll get a few scenes about it, but that's probably it. Season 8 already has a lot on its plate: new characters, new storylines, another battle, and ongoing arcs with Marsali, Fergus, Lord John Grey. And of course, we should get answers to the unresolved Jamie's ghost mystery. That doesn't leave much room for the Faith storyline, so we'll likely see it only in the first 1 or 2 episodes. Still, Julia's pregnancy is important. One possibility is that the child Julia gives birth to ends up being Lord Lovat's illegitimate child, since Julia went into Simon's room at the end of episode 3 to protect her baby. But honestly, we know Julia and Henry would never willingly leave their child with someone like Lord Lovat. Even if the baby were born illegitimately as Simon's, Julia and Henry would likely kidnap their own child to keep it safe. So this theory seems unlikely. Another possibility is the one I mentioned earlier. Julia plans to run away from Simon with Brian's help. Let's say she succeeds, reunites with Henry in the past, and gives birth to her second child there. This child could be either a son or a daughter, but I think a daughter is more likely, especially since the show keeps emphasizing hope as a key theme. I wouldn't be surprised if they named the baby Hope. But here's the catch: if this baby is born around 1715, she'd be too old to give birth to Jane and Fanny, who are still very young in the 1770s. If Julia's child is a son, however, it could work. He could father 2 daughters in his 40s, which would line up better with the timeline. But I still think it will be a girl, and in that case, Claire's sister would be Fanny's grandmother, making Claire Fanny's great aunt. Now, I'll be honest, there are problems with this theory. Why didn't Julia and Henry make it back to the future? Were they forced to stay? Could they not? And why didn't Julia's second child ever meet Claire or attempt to time travel? Since Blood of My Blood isn't directly adapted from Diana Gabaldon's books, these are very tough questions to answer. We'll just have to wait and see. Still, I personally prefer this theory over the Master Raymond one. Don't get me wrong, I know Master Raymond probably has advanced healing abilities, but the idea that he revived Claire's stillborn baby, raised her in another time or place, and that she later became the mother of Jane and Fanny feels like a stretch to me. The idea of Claire being Fanny's great aunt is much more plausible. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Now, there is another wild theory out there that Julia actually gives birth to Gillis. I'm not sure how much sense that makes because it would mean Julia somehow takes the baby to the future and raises her there. But if that happened, why wouldn't she ever meet Claire? It just doesn't quite add up to me, though it's still a possibility. Finally, there is the saddest theory, that the child is never born. Either a stillbirth, like Claire's first pregnancy, or a miscarriage. Personally, I don't think that's where the story will go, especially given how much focus they're putting on Julia's pregnancy. But hey, anything's possible. The biggest question that remains is this: will Claire's parents ever return to the present? We know from Outlander that Claire's parents supposedly died in a car accident when she was 5, and she was then raised by her Uncle Lamb. But Blood of My Blood changes things by making Julia and Henry time travel to the past after that accident. I do think Julia and Henry will eventually reunite because in the trailer we see someone touching Julia's face while she's wearing her 18th century headband. That suggests they meet up, probably thanks to Brian's help. But it's clear Claire never meets them again in the future. That means they stay in the past. But why? The show has already been renewed for season 2, so we know Julia and Henry won't die immediately. My best guess is that they'll eventually die in the past towards the end of this show before ever making it back to the future. Because honestly, it just doesn't make sense for them to abandon their daughter and stay behind by choice. So what do you think? Do you buy into the Great Aunt theory, the Master Raymond theory, or something else entirely? Don't forget to share your theories in the comments and check out my latest Blood of My Blood episode breakdown.